We are going to show you how to create this ocean wave effect in epoxy. You'll want to choose a good quality epoxy for this. Cheaper epoxies can affect the end results and blend poorly. We chose Epoxy UV epoxy for this one. Go ahead and find yourself a few shades of blue. We're using 3 shades from Beaver Dust Pigments. The next color you'll need is a good thick white pigment. You want to make sure this is high quality and opaque. You can also experiment with different colors. In order for this project to be possible, you'll need a heat gun, you'll also need mixing cups, popsicle sticks, and some rubbing alcohol. Mix your epoxy and pigments into some appropriate size cups depending on your project size. We let ours sit for 25 minutes to thicken up the resin. You'll want to go heavy on the pigments. This helps keep the colors separated and promotes cells and lacing when poured. Start with your darkest color and pour the first section. This is preference, but you want to keep in mind what would look realistic. Don't go too wide with it. With your second shade of pigment, pour another similar section directly beside it, trying not to pour over top of the previous color. This color will signify that the water is becoming more shallow. Now with your lightest color, repeat the same steps as the previous colors. This will be the shallowest part of your ocean effect. Make sure you leave enough room for the beach section. If needed, you can touch up the edges of your piece with a popsicle stick to help cover the wood. Another thing to try is blending some of the edges into each other. This helps blend the colors and makes for a more seamless ocean depth effect. Hit it with a heat torch to get rid of any bubbles. Try not to blow the epoxy around too much. This next step is arguably the most important. With some clear epoxy, lay a thin strip across your piece directly above the lightest shade of blue. We do this because it helps separate the white pigment. It also plays a role in lacing and cell patterns. You can also add some wherever you'd like more white wave patterns, but this is best done as a second layer once the first round of epoxy has cured. Now you're ready to add some white epoxy. Using a popsicle stick again, pour a very thin layer directly above the clear that you just poured. Less is more here. If you add too much, you'll struggle to get a good wave effect. You can add some throughout the piece wherever you see fit, or wait and add them as the second layer once cured like mentioned previously. Using a heat gun, carefully and slowly start to direct the white epoxy into the blue. Little by little, the heat will start to cause the ripple effect and create your ocean scene. Don't go crazy, work it until you are happy with the outcome. Once the epoxy has sat, it should start to form cells and lacing if you've used a high quality resin. You can speed this up with a sprinkle of rubbing alcohol. We just poured some in our palm and used our fingers to flick droplets onto the epoxy. This will cause a reaction and create more cells in the epoxy. You can also use a spray bottle if you have one. Once you're happy, let your piece cure completely. You can go back and repeat the process for a second layer, or apply an epoxy flood coat to seal the entire project. That's all it takes. Consider subscribing, and thanks for watching.